and fellow members. This is not for the squeamish, so I'll apologise in advance. Living on a farm in a mobile home, I have a variety of uninvited visitors in the autumn. The static caravan has wooden walls and a wooden floor that is about 2 feet under it, sort of thing, a gap. I don't mind the large spiders that seek shelter and warmth, though my son isn't so keen, so I have to catch them and chuck them out. I have dealt with mice in the past. There are a number of ways to get rid of mice, some humane and others not so much. The humane traps do not do their job, as the mouse will sneak in, eat the bait and then leg it. They then become rather fat, sleek and glossy. The alternatives are poison, proper mouse traps that snap when triggered, and cats. What is the best food to coax the vermin to the trap? Cheese might be considered the obvious one. However, it's easy to be snatched quickly. The best is something that can be squished onto the trap. Mars bars are good to smear on the trap, but for me, I find peanut butter the best, as the vermin will have to stay there a bit longer to retrieve the bait, allowing a better chance to set off the trap. With the sealed sachets of poison, the grain, the mouse would drag it back to their nest, where it's shared by all the others. One year, I discovered that the mice had found my stash of poison under the cupboard, the sink, and helped themselves. I surely did not have a problem that year. I have farm cats that live in the barn, and over the years I've not really had a problem in the barn or indoors. But this autumn I have realised that my champion mouser, vermin catcher, is no longer here. Ebony was born here 17 years ago and has always been the best at catching and scaring the vermin. He even terrified my German Shepherd and Jack Russell. Back last year, I had to change the food that I bought for the cats. I soon realised that none of the cats liked the new food, and so I decided to shop elsewhere for the one they liked. However, meanwhile, Ebony had got a little bit thinner and then disappeared. Usually with elderly farm cats, when their time is up, they go off and find their final resting place, which is what I thought had happened. Shortly afterwards, I went to a neighbouring farm, and as I drove into their yard, who should be sat in their barn but my cat? That's my cat, Kevin! He'd found a place which he preferred, and they'd obviously fed him up, so I no longer have my champion mouser on the farm. This year, I've heard the vermin. Mice make quite a lot of noise, either scurrying along between the wall or chomping on the wood. They mostly come out in the evenings or night. They are nocturnal. This year, as I've heard them between the walls, I wasn't quite sure how to deal with them, as I didn't have access to them. I saw one scurry to a hole in the floor in the corner of the kitchen. Ah! I see where you're coming from. I bought 2 mouse traps, some poison for rats and mice, and a jar of peanut butter, like you would. Crunchy, of course. Why crunchy, I hear you ask? Well, I prefer crunchy myself, even though I haven't actually eaten it for years. And this jar was only for the vermin. In France, the poison is called suicide. Souris being French for mouse. I positioned the little sachets of poison carefully by where I thought they might be near, and I smeared the trap with the crunchy peanut butter that actually doesn't smear very well with the crunchy bits. I waited. Nothing happened. Snap, snap! The traps had been set off. Peanut butter was gone. And so was the mouse. Each sachet of poison that I put in various places was snatched immediately. I found 4 holes through the floor, and I hid another place behind my cupboard in the kitchen. I put out 5 sachets, and another 5 sachets. And again, they went very quickly. The traps were not touched now that the vermin had sussed out how they worked. Chomp, chomp, scuttle, scuttle! My indoor cat, Phoebe, looks up from her slumber. What's that? It's a mouse! Do your job! While I sat watching the telly one evening, I saw something nonchalantly walk across the floor and under the settee. That was not a large mouse. It was a small rat. Ah! And the cat still did nothing. Back to the hardware store. I bought some more poison sachets and a large rat trap. The shop assistant suggested blocking the holes with steel wool, smearing it with some peanut butter to encourage them to chew it. I blocked 4 holes with the peanut butter on steel wool. Yum. And I set the rat trap also with peanut butter. Later on, I was actually aware of some vermin indoors. Had I blocked them out as was my intent, or had I entrapped them indoors with me? Eek. I had realised that they were eating, clearing up the cat's bowls of food, so I moved them up onto the table, that is the bowls, but they soon found them. I now hide the bowls on top of the cupboard overnight. I'm sure that the poison is doing its job, as I don't hear much at all, and I found 1 rat curled up on the floor. It looked like it was asleep. However, I was relieved to find it was actually dead. The traps caught 2 rats who were not as quick as the others to remove the peanut butter and not set off the traps. I make sure that my bedroom door is shut tight at night, as I don't fancy having vermin entering while I'm asleep. Once I'm actually sure that I've got rid of them all, I'll fill up all the holes permanently.